think there has been a change in attitude from corporates to startups. Corporates have always had a kind of tough gig talking to startups. It's an emergent space, frankly, and there's lots of different ways that corporates are trying to reach out to startups, trying to work with startups. And COVID has kind of accelerated that relationship. That is for the good and the bad. So some ideas, some structures are collapsing, some are in retreat, but some others are growing. And I guess it depends really pretty much on what industry sector you're talking about. If it's, say, a fintech tool that helps small businesses work out their cash flow, or helps small businesses go online and sell things that they previously haven't done, those kinds of startups are growing. And I think corporations are talking a lot with those and have something positive to work on together. Other ones that are perhaps not quite as clear cut as to what they do, they're finding it more difficult. You would hope that startups can react to COVID-19 in a better way than a corporation can, simply because startups are or should be much more responsive, much more agile, much more sort of fast-moving. And I think a lot of startups are reacting. One of the big ways, an obvious kind of way, is the way they're building teams is changing now. So a lot of startups are using distributed teams, online tools to communicate, collaborate, co-create, all of those kind of things. And I think it's probably easier for startups to deal with that new reality, because they don't, they're not overly laden down with process and committees and all that kind of thing. So they've been much more reactive. On the other hand, for startups, it's also easier because I think tech product startups, for sure, have been using kind of distributed teams and the tools that come with that kind of thinking for a longer time. So it's been an easier shift for them to undertake. It's really hard to predict the future, obviously. It's hard to see how COVID and the challenges that COVID has unearthed and some of the solutions we're starting to use, how that's all just going to fall away once we develop some kind of vaccine. I think a lot of that stuff will be here to stay, both in tools, ecosystems and environments, working from home or some kind of hybrids. One good example is you used to hear a lot about hot desking. Now people are talking about hot officing. So you might want to, do a lot of stuff from home, but then meet up once or twice a week or month or whatever it may be to bring the whole office together. But the tools that create the ways you communicate those ideas, I think they've grown a lot. We're doing this conversation over Zoom. It's hard to see how that's going to roll back. So I think a lot of changes will happen. The economy is going to change. Maybe the composition of companies that maybe are not as relevant to our sort of modern life will find it more difficult, and a whole lot of new companies that describe a new way of living, I think they'll probably experience some growth.